At least let's start with the question about how well this committee can function with someone like Jim Jordan, jacketless, on the panel.
Well, Zerlina, I think that's exactly the point. If you want to just throw a circus clown into the mix who is going to deflect, diffuse, be as ridiculous as possible and not have any shame about just absolutely embarrassing himself, Jim Jordan's a perfect pick. So I think as long as Speaker Pelosi doesn't veto his selection, which she does have veto power over the committee, he is going to accomplish Kevin McCarthy's goal of turning this simply into a spectacle in theater. And you look at of these 5 Republican members who were selected, 3 out of them voted to not certify the election results. So that really shows us where we are today. I did find the inclusion of 2 members that didn't vote to certify it somewhat interesting, just because you can't believe that they even gave a little bit on that, given that there were only 7 Republicans overall who voted to certify Joe Biden as president.
I mean, what's weird about it, though, is it's 5 white guys and 2 guys named Jim. I mean, if anything, it also demonstrates how different the parties are, not just in makeup, but also in the ultimate goals here. Do you think Nancy Pelosi will veto, or do you think she should veto some of these picks, like a Jim Jordan, who is really just going to roll up his sleeve and make this a circus?
I mean, I'd be very tempted if I were Pelosi to veto Jim Jordan, but I doubt that she will, just because that's exactly what they want her to do, to be able to say that, yes, this is just to malign Trump voters, to malign people who stood with President Trump. And so doing something like that would give them a little bit of a political edge, so to speak, to keep that fervor going among their strongest supporters and distract from the real mission of this committee, which is to talk about the facts surrounding what happened on January 6th. And Jim Jordan, I think, is actually a great pick, because wouldn't he actually qualify to be called to testify, given that he spoke to Donald Trump on January 6th? Jim Jordan spoke to Trump himself. Let's hear what they talked about under oath.
That could be a pretty dramatic moment. I mean, how do we avoid this becoming a circus?
I think that Democrats are just going to have to bring in so much primary sourcing in their form of their questions, in the form of the materials that they display, to make their point and to make the case, just because the images, the footage, the firsthand testimony of law enforcement officers at the Capitol who protected the institution and who protected democracy that day, protected all the lawmakers who were huddled, fearing for their lives. We need to hear the firsthand testimony and have it backed up by these strong visuals that tell the truth, and you can see it with your own eyes.
I mean, one of the things that I struggle with, part is I think with logic. So this whole political period for me has really been hard for my neurons. But Jim Banks is calling the left authoritarian. But it's actually Republicans who are restricting voting rights and political protests. So how does he get to say that when the truth is the opposite of that?
He is taking a cue from the man, the political actor, the political deviant, rather, who did it best, Donald Trump. Donald Trump always would accuse the opposition of the sin that he was committing. I can think of so many different occasions throughout, the Trump campaign, throughout his presidency, where he would accuse someone of lying with a bigger lie than what he was accusing someone of lying about. And so this is just par for the course, and they're going to follow the model that was set by Donald Trump. But no one can quite do it the way that Donald Trump did, as we've seen with all of these cheap imitations. And so I wonder how much public skepticism, when you look at, there are plenty of Trump voters who were absolutely horrified by what happened on January 6th. This only plays well with an incredibly small portion of the base. And I mean like a micro slice of it. People did not like seeing their fellow countrymen and women storm the Capitol. They might have disagreed about the election result, but that was definitely taking it too far, and the majority of Americans agree on that. And so it will be interesting to see how this all plays out when the facts are displayed in the clear, bright sunlight.
It's so true, Elise, and I think all the time about whether or not, if those folks were black or brown or Muslim, the reaction would have been a lot different, including from Trump supporters. Elise Jordan, thank you so much for being here tonight. We're going to pay close attention. Hopefully this committee can get to the bottom of what happened.